We're recording and we're on the way. Welcome, everybody, and welcome to Scott.
Good evening.
Nice to be here. Here comes our first slide. Marketing in the 24th and a half century with Scott Forrest on motor marketing. That's Duck Dodgers. So we're talking about Scott Forrest about marketing in the 21st and a half century. And this is what today's webinar is going to look like. First of all, we're going to give you a whole heap of stuff, as much as we can cram into your brains in the time that we have. I want to warn everybody, by the way, that this webinar has so much stuff planned to be in it now that, and depending on how many questions and interaction we get from everybody, of course, as well, we may well run over time. So as a matter of fact, I think it's guaranteed it will run over time. So, and I sent an email out earlier to warn everybody of that. But so please plan to be here at least an extra 15 minutes. That'd be great. So it's a really big topic, this, and the danger is that we're going to be ending up overwhelming you all with too much stuff. If we are giving you too much, please pipe up and tell us to slow down or stop. Don't forget, you will get the recording both in MP3 and MP4, so both in podcast as well as in video form. And you'll get that tomorrow. So we'll talk in a moment. I'll tell you what you're gonna expect and what we'll cover. But first, this. It's been proven time and time again that passively sitting and listening to someone talking means that you're going to forget 90% of what you've heard in less than a week. So if you want to get as much return on your time, in being part of this workshop, this webinar, you need to participate, and the best way to do that is to stay focused is by working through the worksheets that I've prepared so lovingly for you all, and the address to download it if you haven't done so yet is tiny.cc/marketing page. Also, if you have any questions, please type them in at the bottom left-hand corner in the chat screen, or if you click on the My Mood screen at the top of your window, you'll see that you can put up your hand or do a thumb up or a thumb down or some other signals, and we can react to that. But above all, ask questions. Ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. Please feel free to disagree with us, take us to task, rant and yell. We can't hear you anyway. Right. Oh, don't do any of these, because none of us can actually do multitasking. It's a myth. Honest. And this is our agenda for today. This is what we're going to go through. We're going to check in with you to see where you are around this topic of marketing. We're going to talk about the 5 timeless pillars of marketing. We're going to talk about what's in other words, the timeless pillars will tell us what hasn't changed, but then we're also going to spend a lot of time talking about what has changed, what is different about marketing in 2015. Specifically going to be doing a quite in-depth kind of interview with Scott. We're going to have a couple of stories for you. Then there's going to be an offer. There's going to be special offers, a special offer from me and one from Scott from Motive Marketing. And then finally we get into action. Because nothing changes if we don't do stuff. For those of you who don't know me yet, that's me, and I really truly am that handsome, aren't I, Scott? Absolutely. That's right. See, he would agree. Rather than I'm a business coach and a mentor, and I help small business owners become less daunted and less overwhelmed and feel great about themselves and about their business by making business fun again and building businesses that sustain you for years to come. And I'm also the author of the 10 Truths Trilogy, business books for people who don't read business books but should. And then we have our special guest. And he is nearly as handsome as me, and his name is Scott Forrest from Motive Marketing. Some of you know him and some of you don't. Scott, tell us about you.
I'm a digital marketing specialist, a direct marketing specialist with over 22 years experience. I run a boutique digital marketing marketing agency called Motive Marketing that specializes in lead generation and customer acquisition marketing for small and medium businesses.
So tell us, digital and lead generation, can you explain a little bit more what that actually means? Because it confuses the hell out of me sometimes.
Sure. So we create campaigns to generate leads for businesses online. To do that, we use content marketing, SEO, Google AdWords, Facebook advertising, retargeting, display advertising, mobile marketing, and email marketing as well. Sometimes we integrate these with traditional media channels like radio, press, and TV too.
Well, he's a busy boy, is Scott, and he knows stuff that I couldn't even dream about. Someone has lost sound. Has everybody else lost sound as well, or is it just Claire? Can I? Hold on. How is
still okay there? Barry's got sound. Kathy's still got sound. I think it's just you, Claire.
Yeah.
You might need to check your internet connection.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, Claire, I can't help then. If it's just you, you could try and logging out and logging back in, of course. Okay, sounds like everybody's hearing okay. So we'll have to keep going. I'm sorry, Claire. If it really gets frustrating, as I said, you'll get the recording later. So today is the Small Business Masterminds Foundation about marketing, and there's a truth about marketing in all of my books actually, and and it's woven throughout everything, and that is for a very good reason, because the truth in my first book about marketing is that marketing is everything, and everything is marketing. And so therefore it would be about everything. So specifically today we're going to talk about that everything, but the everything in the 21st century, and our outcomes for today are this is what we want. This is what we want you to take away from being here today. We want you to all walk away enthusiastic with at least one action that you're committed to taking in your business around marketing your business better in the digital age. And we want you to become really present to how important it is to be great at what you do, as well as be great at running a business, not just being a business doer, but also being a business owner. Because running your business is about so much more than being a good architect or a good web developer or a good lawyer, right? There are all kinds of key aspects of business that we must face from time when we set out to develop our businesses, such as all of these: vision, marketing, planning, your customers, people, staff, control systems, the rhythm of business, money, sales, systems, leadership. All of that leads to fun, but all of that also leads to this. It's just too much, right? It's overwhelming, it's daunting. So Scott and I are both really committed to helping small business owners step out of that overwhelming. In the second half of this webinar, we're going to give you some information how you can take a step out and how to move towards having more fun in business, if you want, of course. But let's focus on the greatest cause of that overwhelm for you first. I'm sure it must be that sandwich. So go to your worksheet, and on page 3, I think it is, or maybe page 2. No, I'm pretty sure it's page 2. No, let me check. Oh no, it's page 2. Top of page 2. There is a question. The question is, right now, this coming month, what is the biggest challenge you face in your business? What is the thing that keeps you awake most? Please take a moment to write that answer down on your worksheet. I hope it's slightly more earth-shattering than this woman's.
If they haven't downloaded the worksheet, maybe they can put it into the comments section.
Oh, that's a good idea too. Please do, yeah. So take a moment to write it down on your worksheets, or put it in the comments section, in the chat section there, and we'll give you a minute's silence to do so. We have a cup of tea. I think that'll be a minute. There's a box underneath that most pressing question, most pressing challenge question, and that is about your outcome. What are you here for? What do you want to get from being here today. Please fill that in as well. Great. Okay, let's get started. And let's begin by checking in how everyone feels about marketing and marketing in the 21st and a half century. So we're going to run one of our polls. So I'll pull it out. Right, here we go. Here's your poll. It's also repeated. The poll questions are also repeated on your worksheet. The question is this: when I think of marketing my business in 2015, what I feel is, A, I feel frustrated, guilty, slack, whatever word you want to use there, because I know I should give a lot more time and attention to online and social media marketing especially, but I just don't get around to it. Or B, I'm overwhelmed because I just don't know where to focus. What's most important? Or C, I'm scared or afraid because I think we're missing out on good opportunities and I worry that the competition is going to overtake me. Or D, all of the above. It just depends what day you ask me. Or E, I'm excited because my marketing systems are humming and working on all fronts and I'm getting an excellent return for every dollar I spend on my marketing budget. Please go and vote now. We've got a few votes in already. Coming. Someone's even voted E. Is that you, Scott? Did you vote E yourself? Did you?
No, I didn't vote E myself, but I think that could be somebody in Fiji who knows what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Hello there, Stu.
Oh, excellent, cool, great, wonderful.
Richard.
Excellent, good on you, Richard. Okay, cool. So we've got most of our votes in, and well, it's not entirely unexpected, I suppose. We've got about 45% of people voting A, 18 at B, 9 at C, 18% at D, all of the above. It just depends what time you ask me. And one lucky soul going at E. Yeah, Richard, yes. And Kathy Curtis says, yes, if I was in Fiji, I'd feel really good about marketing too. Yes, true. Excellent. So that's our poll. So that's basically what I expected, right? I mean, it's most people don't feel very good about these topics. They feel frustrated and slack and scared and afraid and all of that at the same time. And most business owners feel a mixture of that and overwhelm around the topic of marketing because they know they should do more of it. They don't know where to start. They don't think they can really afford what they ought to spend. And they're afraid that the competition is just going to sail past them any day. Is that your experience as well, Scott?
Yeah, it is. Many people find this subject very overwhelming. Marketing is really just about doing what is important and doing it consistently, not doing everything. So don't try and do every single thing in the marketing world that you can do for your business.
Insane, yeah.
Pick a couple of things, do them well, do them consistently, and do them for 90 days. If they work, scale them up. If they don't, try something new.
Yeah, so the problem with this situation that everybody's feeling so crap about this marketing is twofold, because most business owners know that they should spend more time on marketing to get on top of social media and other forms of online marketing because everyone tells them so. The books they read, their trusted advisors, their friends, and even their family will get in on the act. Oh, you should really post more about your business on Facebook. Or how many followers do you have on Twitter now? A friend of mine is getting so much business through LinkedIn. What page rank do you have on Google, et cetera, et cetera? Hence, most business owners often actually feel guilty and inadequate. They feel that they're somehow not really cutting it as business owners. And the problem, that's the second side of this, the problem is this. Everyone is actually right. You simply cannot build a fun, healthy, sustainable business in 2015 and beyond without being all over the various online marketing forms. being on top of online marketing can absolutely mean the difference between success and failure for your business. That was the I feel so inadequate slide. Sorry, we forgot to move forward. So that's the success. So we're on the middle of page 3 of your worksheet, I think. Yeah, that's right. And let's have a look at what's changed and what's unchanged. So first we're going to have a look at what's not changed about marketing. What's still the same? What's still the same, just like the old French guy. Plus ça change, plus c'est la même chose. Or in English, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that's absolutely the case for marketing. I believe that a lot of people think that marketing in the 21st century is somehow different from the 20th century. I really don't think it is. Because marketing in 2015 still rests on exactly the same 5 pillars that it's always rested on. And the 5 pillars, and you know them all probably, it's personal, it's about value, it's about trust, it's about visibility, and it's about what's in it for me. What do you reckon, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll always remain about those 5 principles. Today we might round those out with vision, reputation, and consistency. Vision propels your business forward, inspires creativity, ignites purpose and passion, and fosters growth. A company's reputation, especially online, is its most valuable asset and needs to be protected. And consistency builds credibility. Credibility allows a business to experience longevity. So maybe 7 pillars?
Yeah, it's just like the Parthenon. Now, look, there probably is more pillars to the temple, but let's just stick with those 5, because I think by focusing on those 5, we can illustrate what we mean quite well. So let's have a look at each of those 5 in turn, and let's get quite clear what they actually mean. And so the first one is, it's personal, right? Marketing is all about people, the people interactions and relationships. We buy from a salesperson in most cases. The salesperson might be the owner, or it might be an employee, or it might be a sales agent, but it is always about the personal interaction and relationships. You simply are much less likely to buy something from someone you do not like than from someone you click with. Seems obvious, but it's important to remember when we talk about online marketing as well, right? You reckon?
Yeah. It's no matter what kind of automated marketing systems you set up, and there's some fantastic automation you can embed into your business today, you have to remember it's about talking to people. People want to feel that they're talked to by people, even if it's an automated email system, in language that suits them and fits the relationship, not by some automatically generated email system or a logarithm on your computer.
Yeah, no, we probably don't need to explain that much further, but don't forget it. In everything you do, you must not forget that it's always about people to people. The second thing is value. And this is not necessarily in order of priority. I'm not saying that personal is more important than value, whatever, but the 5 pillars, right? They're all the same things. And value is a big topic. I think we've got to be careful we don't go into too much detail on some of these things here, because we could be here until tomorrow. But because it's a massive topic, and we could just run a webinar on the topic of value all on its own, really. But let's be clear, we must always focus on delivering value.
How true. What's different today, though, especially from a digital marketing perspective, is that you often have to start delivering value from the outset, perhaps even before thinking about transacting with a customer.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to often start giving things first, whether that be an ebook or a strategy session, some education or some key tips, or even just a really good user experience on a website before people even try to transact business. Building value and trust along the way.
I absolutely agree. I think that is a significant difference in modern marketing to how it used to be. I mean, you wouldn't expect in the old days to get any value, as it were, before you'd actually paid money. And now everybody expects to get all kinds of valuable stuff before they're to entice them into doing business with you. So I think that's a significant difference. But we will get, and we will absolutely, no doubt, get back to that further on. But the other thing to remember about value, this is a really important thing that people forget, that price is only one of the aspects, or one of the factors that determine value. It's absolutely one of the factors. Something that's cheap has a greater value in the eyes of some people This is a minefield that I just stepped in there. Okay, moving right along.
We'll move. Price and value isn't just about price, and you have to start delivering it from your first engagement with a customer, whether they're working through your door, coming to your website. I think we'll leave it there. Otherwise, we'll be here all night.
Number 3 was trust. So no one's ever bought anything from anyone unless they trusted him or her. We, quite a few of us here on this call, on this webinar, are in BNI, and one of the features of one of the principles of BNI is that people do business with people they know, like, and trust. And I think it's completely and utterly true. There's different levels of trust, but it's always about trust. Without trust, there's no business. Is that still the case?
Yeah, yeah, it's still the case. But it's judged today on a different set of principles. For example, I'm less inclined to trust a business or a brand that does not have a decent online presence or an up-to-date responsive website, or that does not have good reviews on, say, if it's accommodation or a hotel on TripAdvisor, or if it's a plumber or an electrician on Google+. Trust used to be purely personal, but today there are far more inputs to that state of trust than a prospective customer feels.
Yeah.
And we have to be very aware of how our online visibility affects that trust.
Yeah, it's really, you see, that whole piece about how we build trust these days has gained, it's really gained a completely new dimension in the past decade. Pillar number 4. Is that 4? Yeah, that's 4. 4, visibility. If I can't see you, if I don't know that you exist, I'm not going to do business with you. Duh. But to be visible, we need to be where our customers are, right? No point being visible in an ad in a newspaper if none of your customers read newspapers anymore. This principle is, it's really important to keep in mind. When you were talking about online marketing a bit later on, you've got to be visible to your customers in the places that they hang out.
Absolutely. There's little point in building a great Facebook presence if your target market is teenagers, because they've migrated to other social media channels like Tumblr, Instagram, Reddit, and YouTube. Similarly, if you're a B2B business targeting other businesses, you need to work on your LinkedIn and maybe Facebook profiles, possibly Twitter. Media selection is critical too. Now there are whole segments of the populace who don't even watch normal free-to-air television anymore.
Well, yeah, I don't actually own a television. I haven't watched free-to-air television probably for 10 years. So if you want to advertise a new car to me, there's absolutely no point putting an ad on Channel 9, because I want to see it. And has anybody seen a Yellow Pages of late?
Not me. However, if you've got a service that targets older people, and by older people, I'm talking people 60 plus, that are looking for local services.
I'm nearly 60,
Yeah, no, but there's a certain sociographic rather than a demographic profile that still does use the Yellow Pages. My 80-year-old mother-in-law is an example. If she's looking for a dentist or if she's looking for a local service, she picks up the Yellow Pages because she doesn't use a computer. Yeah,
sure. Yeah. And the last of the 5 pillars that we're talking about is what's in it for me? What's in it for me with them? People will never buy anything from you unless you demonstrate to them how you will either take away a pain or give them a pleasure. It sounds very stark, but it is. People are simply not going to buy how clever your product is. They're going to buy what the product's going to do for them. There's no point impressing people with the cleverness of your product.
No, and people today want instant gratification on top of that.
Yeah.
So when coming to your website, for example, or into your shop or your store, you have to present to them exactly what they're looking for. And it's hard to do this on a homepage of a website, for example. Today, we create multiple landing pages for different customer segments and offers. I was working with a company that shows professional services practitioners like accountants, HR consultants, lawyers, etc., how to package their services and sell more. All we could say on the homepage that would fit all of these different markets was learn how to sell more services.
Yeah.
So we created a few different lead magnets, and by that I mean an ebook, a white paper, an infographic, and that allowed people to self-select off the homepage depending on how they like to consume information. But we went further. For each of those, we then created different landing pages for each of the markets, for each of the lead magnets, so that we could say, for example, learn how to sell more HR consulting services, download this white paper. You have to be that specific and give them what's in it for me straight up, because people's attention span is getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because that really points out this whole thing about specialization as well, and niche marketing, getting very clear about your niches. You can't be everything to everyone. Because of this need for specialization, you either have to have such an enormously large website and presence about everything, which it doesn't work. So it's fascinating how that sort of stuff's changing. So those are the timeless principles. They're just as relevant now, those 5 pillars, as they ever were. But let's go and talk about the stuff that we've really got Scott here for, Scott's territory. But let's just check if there's any questions before we go there. Any questions right now? Please speak up. Pete. Any questions? Yes, Carla from Newcastle. Carl says, I don't actually get this trust thing, because I buy a lot from Amazon. I don't necessarily trust them. And, that is it is a great example. What do you want to answer that one, Scott?
Yeah, Amazon's a great example of how trust is built through the opinions of other people.
Yeah.
TripAdvisor's another one. Airbnb's another one. We rely on the herd's trust or the herd's opinion of a product or a service or a website. And we base our trust, like I was saying before, on those online reviews of other people.
Yeah. It's not actually that we trust Amazon necessarily or Airbnb. We trust the users. So that's the community. That's the clever thing that a company like Amazon has done. They said, they're not going to trust us, but they will trust the users, and that's what they built their whole system on. Right? I often buy books from Amazon on the sole recommendation of other people who've read books like the ones that I've ordered. It's blah blah blah. But it is all about the trust. I hope that makes sense, Carla. So let's move on. So let's talk about what's changed about marketing by 2015. And we've already started talking about some of that stuff, but let's get very specific. What has changed? So tell us, in your mind, what are the big changes?
Well, the principles of marketing are pretty much unchanged, but the way we do marketing has changed significantly in many ways, and where we do it and the timing in which we do it is what's changed dramatically.
Yeah. So what do you reckon would be the top 5?
That's really hard to say, but what I'm seeing is increasingly highly targeted communications down to micro audiences or single person audiences is one big change.
Single person audiences?
Yeah. Increasingly wide range of channels through which to communicate to those specific audiences. Marketing automation is just going in leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
Measurability of everything would be number 4. Probably number 5 is what I call marketing velocity.
Can you give us a bit more detail on those 5?
Okay, so ability to target our communications really specifically to individuals, very small groups and small niche markets means that the minority report style marketing model is basically here.
What do you mean with minority report?
Is it the minority report that had the billboard that was customized to the person that was walking past?
Oh, right.
I think it was, if my memory is correct.
Yeah.
But certainly we can do that online. We can create dynamic content for websites based upon what somebody else has viewed before. You'll see that if you go on to any of the large shopping sites like Iconic, for example. They will present product that you have, similar to product that you've browsed before. You'll see that on Amazon with their outbound emails and their product suggestions of what you might buy next. So that's one of the greatest changes, but we can do that for every business today with quite inexpensive marketing automation tools.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. You don't have to spend millions on doing that.
No, it's hundreds of thousands now.
Yeah.
So that's one. The wide range of communication options or channels just astounds me. There was a really big long word I learned to spell once called media disintermediation, which was basically the idea that all the channels were fragmenting with more radio stations and more free-to-air digital television stations and more paid TV. What we're seeing in the digital space compounds that by factors of thousands.
Yeah.
And not only can we choose really specific niche channels, but we can select them by the time of the day, by the location even that a customer might be looking at that channel in the time of the day. So that's just become a really massive change in the last few years.
Okay. Marketing automation. I
could do a whole webinar just on marketing automation by itself.
Yeah, I know, it's dangerous. It's all these topics.
It's allowed us to set up automated lead and sales funnels that operate without our involvement 24/7. Really simply, even the most basic mailing systems like MailChimp has some level of marketing automation built into it, where you can receive a lead on your website, automatically program a series of drip emails to go out from it. Send them other emails depending on whether they open it or not, whether they read it or click through.
Yeah.
And what you can do with much more complicated systems that are still for small and medium businesses like Infusionsoft is takes that to another level.
Yeah. I'm using one myself. Pretty well everybody on this webinar has received at least one, if not more, emails out of my automated system. And yeah, it's incredibly powerful and effective. Yeah. And measurability. What do you mean with measurability of that?
Well, measurability. I'm a direct marketer. That was where I started out really, and all the direct marketing mathematics that I learned at a postgraduate diploma in direct marketing are now available to anybody that can log into Google Analytics and look at their cost per click, their cost per lead. If you set up your goals properly, you can really measure pretty much everything online.
Yeah.
And that's something that's pretty new.
Yeah. And then this thing that you said, marketing velocity.
So velocity is the rate and direction or motion of change. And so things aren't just speeding up. I think we've known that for some time, but they're speeding up and changing direction really quickly. And it increases month by month with everything from business models, to, and by business models, I'm talking about disruptive business models that could affect your business. The likes of Uber, the likes of Airbnbs, the likes of car sharing business models.
Yeah.
Those things are changing markets really quickly in ways we didn't expect. Marketing channels are evolving that even 2 or 3 years ago, I would have had no concept that they would become a viable communication channel. And performance metrics are changing at just an incredible speed too.
So being mindful of our audience, I think we need to be careful again that we don't get into too much overwhelming detail, because I suspect that quite a few people have probably just gotten a bit scared about those five already. I mean, I'm
a little bit of a marketing propeller head, so
yes, I know that, and so I see it as my job to slow the propeller down a little bit today. So that's great. I mean, but those five are incredibly good to remember, and even for a very small level. I mean, one thing you said before when we about targeting, and I said, it used to cost millions. Now you say it's hundreds of thousands. And of course, most people that we know in BNI or in this webinar, they're not going to spend hundreds of thousands.
Oh, I mean, I'm talking hundreds of dollars or $1,000.
Oh,
not $100,000.
Yes, exactly.
You can.
I just wanted to be clear about that.
You can set up something on your WordPress website.
Yeah.
That if somebody clicks on it, that you can take them to a page that is built for them.
Yeah.
And then you can, if they fill in a form on that page, you can send them some personalized emails out of your MailChimp system.
Yeah.
And you can do that all with free software.
Yeah, I know. It's really incredibly powerful. So what we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, I'm just going to literally interview you. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about modern marketing and how we should do it and what those big changes mean for us at a really practical, simple level. I mean, as with all Mastermind Foundation webinars, I want people to be able to walk away today with some really simple, practical stuff that they're going to be able to do, and if anything, take people out of overwhelm. And so, I'll slow the propeller down every now and then.
No problem. Let's go.
Go away. What happened there? We've got a funny error message. Everybody's still hearing us all right. Can I get a thumb up or a smiley face? Yep, good.
Okay, we're good.
Moving right along. So, and please jump in right at any time. It's really going to be a great benefit for all of you if you jump in and ask questions or give feedback or disagree with us. That's all good. The more you interact, the less likely it is that you'll fall asleep and get overwhelmed. So, Scott, first question I have is, what are the top 5 principles? The top 5 principles of an effective website. What are the main things that we need to think about when we develop our website or when we look at it and decide if it's effective? What have we got to do?
Everybody on this webinar can determine that for themselves because it's really pretty simple.
Right.
Your website needs to lead to business.
Yeah.
And for most businesses, that means visitors to your website need to complete an action, whether that's to pick up the phone, to fill in an inquiry form, or to purchase a product that's being promoted on the site.
Yeah.
And what we look at to make that happen, again, user experience, we're all fairly good web browsers these days. We can tell if our websites are going to allow us to do one of those 3 actions. If your website phone number is tiny on the top right-hand side of the page and no one can read it, the chance of them picking up the phone is very low. So we look at function, first of all. Are we driving to a phone inquiry? Are we driving to a web inquiry through a form? That's the first thing we look at.
Yeah.
Usability is the second thing we look at. And by usability, it's pretty simple. It's, can people find what they're looking for when they come to your website? And the third thing related to that is content. Once they find what they're looking for, do you provide enough of the right type of content that the person is going to be looking for when they come to your website? Yeah,
I remember back to that that pillar of value, right? And that people are looking at it.
And content, might be pictures, it might be video, it could be copy, it can be anything. It depends on what people are looking for.
Yeah.
Conversions is the next thing that we look at. And I spend quite a bit of time working on conversion optimization of websites. So that's really looking at how the website converts to either a telephone call or a form inquiry or a product sale.
Yeah.
And then finally, it's aesthetics. Unfortunately, that's the thing that people spend most of the time thinking about.
It's funny, isn't it? Yeah.
How does my website look? Not actually how does it function and does it meet the customer's need?
Yes.
So, is the phone number legible, easy to read, and provide a click to call on the mobile version of your responsive site? Is the response form above the fold, or do I have to scroll down to see it? Is the site easily navigable? Those are all questions you can ask yourself and then answer them.
Before we pissed off anybody who's a designer on this call, we're not saying that design is not important, right? Or aesthetics is not important, because that actually leads to a trust pillar.
Totally.
If your site looks cheap and nasty, then it doesn't engender trust. And as we said before, without trust, it doesn't work. But it's only one of the functions again, right? It's one of the things we need to worry about. And the problem is that we tend to spend 90% of our time worrying about the aesthetic rather than all the other stuff. So that's about the basic function of a website. But always keep in mind the website is there as a tool. It's not there to just sit there. It's got to drive.
It's not a brochure.
No, it's not meant to be a brochure. It's meant to be so much more, and people expect it to be more. So the next question that's come up a lot recently is this whole thing about responsive websites. It'd be great if you could do that. So can you tell us what responsive website design is and why we care about it?
Sure. So responsive design is aimed at creating websites that provide an optimal viewing experience regardless of the device that somebody is using. So it means...
Then that's not the telescope that this guy's
Yeah,
using.
correct. So it means that it's going to be easy to be read regardless of device, that the navigation is intuitive and works regardless of device, with no resizing, panning, scrolling required. That in its most simplest form is what a responsive website is. What it's not, and I just want to focus on this.
Yeah.
Lots of people think I should build a mobile site. I've got a
Mm.
lovely desktop site, and maybe I'll just build one for mobile.
That's what we used to do.
That's what we used to do.
It's actually the Sydney. I just noticed the other day. I realised Sydney Morning Herald's still got two separate sites.
They have. That's because I've got such a massive site. I worked on the Sydney Morning Herald when we first launched it in the 90s, and trying to move to a fully responsive site for them would be a massive undertaking. But Google's going to, and it's a high-ranking site, so it doesn't really matter so much. For smaller businesses, small, medium businesses, it's really critical. You do not want to be running two websites. You do not want to be running a mobile site and a desktop site.
No.
So you want to have a responsive site if it's at all feasible.
Yeah. And it matters because?
It matters because, number one, customers care. Mobile browser usage has exceeded 3% this year. So that means 1/3, depending on your website, depending on your target market, your product, it can be much higher.
Yeah, I thought it would be.
But overall, it's around 30%. At some times of the day, it exceeds 50-60%, especially during the morning rush hours at lunchtime. So number one, your customers care. Number two, mobile is just growing. And number three, Google cares. Google started ranking sites based upon mobile friendliness. So it's important.
Yeah.
And, look, if you don't know whether your website is responsive or not, there's a really simple test.
Yeah, and we've put it onto the, if you go, there's the resources page where you've downloaded the webinar worksheet, and where tomorrow will be placed the recordings as well. But
you just go to
tiny.cc/marketing L page. There's a bunch of links and resources there, and one of them is the Google Webmaster Tool that allows you to decide whether your website is mobile friendly. But you can also find it through Google, but the link is on there.
Yeah, it's google.com/webmasters/tools/mobile friendly.
Yeah.
Don't worry if your site doesn't render perfectly in the little image they give you. All you're after is the green ticks on the site.
Yeah. I've just tested it before. One of my sites is tick good, and the other one is tick no good. So that's responsive website. Without a mobile responsive website, your site will be ranking down enormously. It's amazing because I have two websites, and one of them isn't optimized yet. I've actually noticed it already in 2 weeks since Google did this update.
There's been some independent research done as well across some of the really highly traffic sites.
Yeah.
Some of those big news sites have had problems getting mobile responsive.
Wow.
And some of the big sites have had a serious impact on their traffic.
Yeah. It's
up to 50% drop in traffic.
That's amazing, yeah. Right. Next question, Scott. Any questions in the meantime, please pipe up, right, guys? Inbound marketing. That's one of those terms that everybody talks about, and it makes me head for the hills. Tell me more about inbound marketing. And why should I care about it? Why is it something that I should lose sleep over, or not lose sleep over? Tell me about it.
Well, I suppose inbound marketing is the opposite of interruption marketing. And interruption marketing is all of that traditional marketing that we've been used to, at least for all of my life. It's the television ad that pops up in the middle of the program I'm watching.
So with interruptive marketing, you mean we get interrupted by
get interrupted in what we really want to be doing by something else.
Yeah.
So that can be a pop-up on a website. That's interruption marketing.
Yeah. So if I send an email
That's not interruption. That's not necessarily interruption marketing. If somebody opens it, reads it, and clicks through.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's probably the best definition. Probably the most important inbound marketing, and some marketers would disagree that this is inbound marketing, but SEO and Google AdWords I consider both to be inbound marketing because somebody is actively searching for your content or for information related to what you have on your site.
Yeah, look, Richard, thanks for the comment, Richard. It's absolutely true. Inbound marketing, once you get around that, it's incredible.
The ROI is amazing.
Return on investment.
The ROI is amazing because we have far better engagement with the content that we are providing.
Yeah.
It's often a more targeted audience because they are self-selecting.
Yeah.
So engagement, better targeting means a lower cost per lead from activity that comes from inbound marketing. And that leads, as Richard says, to amazing ROI when it's done right.
I just point out to people, I mean, there are sometimes these terms that go past that if you in any way you're not sure what it means, please pipe up. I mean, we just mentioned, or Scott just mentioned, cost per lead. If you don't know what that means, I'm not going to stop every time that we
I use an acronym.
We use an acronym because if you know what it means, great. But if you don't, please pipe up because there's lots of acronyms in your business that I don't understand either. So please feel free. But so CPL or cost per lead means how much does it cost me for every marketing lead that I get? How much money am I spending for every inquiry that I get from my website or from whatever?
And I think the other one we threw in there was ROI. And as Richard quite rightly points out, ROI is return on investment.
Yeah. So
that's all of the costs of your marketing divided by the total sales.
Yeah. So if I spend $1,000 on marketing in a particular period of time, how many inquiries or rather how many sales do I get out of that $1,000, right?
Yeah. What dollar value is as a percentage of
Anyway. So what's your return on investment on being on this webinar here today? Question. Investment of your time. So the most important social media. What are the most important social media for us to focus on?
Oh, look, that's an impossible question to answer.
No, it is,
because it depends upon your target market. And it depends on your business and it depends on your product.
Yeah.
But social media is important regardless for SEO or search engine optimization.
How so?
These days, SEO relies on a couple of things, and one of those things is social media engagement. Who looks at your content, shares your content, and links back to your content in social media. It's one of the key signals that Google uses in its algorithm.
Yeah. We've got a question from Craig in Brisbane. There's a lot here. What's best for us to focus on for fast action? And it's one of those questions that's really difficult to answer, Craig. And I am aware that we are loading you up with a lot of stuff. But I think the best thing I can tell you at this moment is that we both Scott and I will be independently making some offers to you at the end of this webinar, or 2/3 through this webinar, and I would urge you to take us up on those. I mean, there will be absolutely no pressure to do anything else, or so it's not about this is not about sales. It's actually designed to help you cut through some of this stuff, because it is some of it can be overwhelming, and so it's difficult to answer that question, I would say, Greg, and if Scott disagree with it, it's because it is so independent. It's so dependent on each situation. It's difficult for us to say, well, you should focus on Facebook, because I don't even know what your business is, and I don't know what you've done and what you haven't done, and I don't know what your market is, and so it's
But what I would typically say for social media is pick 2 or 3. So there's some general things. If you're a B2B business, then definitely LinkedIn is one of those three.
Yeah.
And the other two are probably Facebook and Twitter. Although depending on your business, it could just as equally be Instagram and Pinterest. Generally for B2C, it's Facebook and Instagram and at least a couple of others. But again, it depends on your target market and what you're trying to do. So it's a hard question to answer. In terms of everything, I think Craig might have been referring to everything about inbound marketing. Again, don't try and do all of this because you'll just fall over.
Oh, yeah, you can't. No way.
Pick 2 or 3 things, maybe 4 things maximum, and do them really well. Would be my answer to that, Craig, if you're looking at what inbound marketing you should focus on. But you decide which ones. Think about where your customers are hanging out. Think about what your customers are doing, and let that be the compass for choosing what you do.
Cool. But do take us up on the offer because it's going to really help you get clear about that. We'll get back to that later. All right, let's talk about Google. Everything Google. What are the top 5 principles of being found in Google?
Okay. Number 1, I'd say get a responsive website. Number 2, optimize your website for users first and for search engines second.
Yeah, that whole idea about just focusing on keywords and that sort of stuff is just.
Well, yeah, you got to do a bit of that, but
I know, but I mean,
think about your customers first and what they might be searching for, and optimize your website based around your users or your potential target market. So number 3, a regularly updated blog or article section or picture section or video section or combination of those is really critical because fresh new content related to what your target audience is searching for are critical.
Yeah.
And use that. Probably number 4 would be to use that blog or article section or picture section or gallery section as the hub, and regularly populate social platforms from that blog. So often I see people spending a lot of time posting stuff to Facebook or posting stuff to Pinterest or posting stuff to all over social media and not using their website as the central repository that everything feeds back to.
Yeah.
So that'd be number 4. If I had to pick number 5, I have to talk about backlinks. But backlinks these days have to be very natural, very high quality backlinks.
Right.
So
I'm just going to stop you for a moment because I think there may be people who will be confused what backlinks actually mean, what that refers to.
So a backlink is any link back to your website from another website. So for example, if you're posting a picture from your gallery section of your website onto Pinterest or Instagram, and you put a URL back to that picture or that page that the picture's on, that's considered a backlink to your site. Yeah. High quality sites, if you can get a backlink from the Sydney Morning Herald or the Melbourne Age, they're very high quality, natural backlinks that refer back to pages on your website. And so what we're looking for today is high quality backlinks that would be formed from normal PR and communication activities. Yeah. Certainly not the type of backlinks where you hire some guys in India to post on a whole bunch of WordPress blogs links back to your site that are completely not relevant.
Yeah. And also not what we used to do, me putting a link to Scott's website on my website and he putting a link on his website to my website.
That will potentially impact the rankings of both websites.
Yeah, well, actually negatively
impact Yeah.
But don't make that mistake anymore. And if you still have that kind of stuff on your website, take it off. Yeah, absolutely.
Unless it's highly relevant. It would be highly relevant perhaps for somebody who is let's say a fitness coach to talk about their coaching experience with New Perspectives Coaching. They've got a coaching site. New Perspectives does a different type of coaching. It's related. So it can work, just don't overdo it and don't do lots of them, and certainly don't create a blog link network.
Yeah, perfect.
Nick's asked about retargeting. I think you've got a couple of questions later on.
I am going to be asking you about retargeting.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Where are we? Okay. So that was Google, right? And we all talk about Google this, Google everything. But what about all the others? I mean, should we worry about others? Should we worry about, something we have?
Should we worry about other search engines like Bing and Yahoo? The stats are that last time I checked, which was a couple of weeks ago, Google has over 93% of the search volume in Australia.
Wow.
Yahoo and Bing are the only other real contenders in Australia. It's a lot different overseas. So that doesn't apply to other markets. I forget what the stats are for other markets, but I think in the US, Google's got 60-something%. And it's different in other places around the world. But in Australia, 93% is Google.
America, Google is a lot less.
Lot lower, a lot lower. Often when I've maxed out Google, when I've done as much SEO as I can, I've got AdWords optimized. I'll launch campaigns on the others as well. The only other thing I'll say about that is if you are targeting, for example, the Chinese market, then Baidu becomes very critical.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say is that let's not forget about searching in social media. YouTube is the biggest TV channel in the world now.
Yeah.
It also has, I think, if it's not higher than Google, it's second highest number of searches.
Yeah.
So thinking about social media searching, think about your keywords, your hashtags.
Yeah.
They matter too across social media.
Yeah, absolutely. Google Local. Well, I think let's make this very quick so that we don't get stuck too. We need to probably move on.
Okay. I think there's a link we've put into the website.
Yeah.
Basically, get your local business on Google listing sorted. Do it by going to Google My Business, type in Google My Business, or go to google.com/business. Since the Pigeon update, Google is heavily favouring physical proximity. So if your business services, multiple areas around, say, Sydney, and you've got one location listed, perhaps look at getting a couple of other serviced offices.
It's interesting that you have to actually think about that. If I want to be rated in Melbourne, that I actually have to get a serviced office in Melbourne.
Well, I don't know that you have to be rated, but since the Pigeon update, it is being factored into proximity of where the person is searching is being factored into who is presented in the search results. So we have to be aware of that.
Tell people what we mean when we talk about the Pigeon update.
No, I don't think you want to go into that right now, do you?
Pigeon update is just one of the Google updates. It's the way it searches stuff all the time, and it gives it names. So Pigeon is one of them.
And just as important though is optimizing external web properties like major online directories, and getting real customer reviews and ratings on those is critical. So asking your customers to do reviews on Facebook, asking them to do reviews on Google Plus, on Yelp, on Yahoo Local, are critical as well for local area marketing.
Richard said, even without original video content, curating videos and groups helps your customers.
He's right.
Yeah. It's probably too much detail at this moment. We need to be careful. We move on. Thanks, Richard. Really appreciate your comments. And Craig, we'll get back to that question in a moment. Pay-per-click, SEO. What's better?
They're both important. SEO is what you do to get your website ranking organically in search engine results, based on the keywords using the content of your site and how your content is engaged with by people online. The biggest factors for SEO ranking today are on-site content, backlinks, which I've talked about, from reputable websites, and social media engagement. It takes time, It used to be that I could get almost any website onto the front page of Google within 3 months. These days, if somebody creates a brand new website from scratch under a new URL, it will take at least 6 months to start ranking. Pay-per-click, or PPC, is where you pay when someone clicks on something and comes to your site.
So that's actually advertising.
That's actually advertising, right. Yeah. So one is organic, The other is paid advertising.
Yeah.
And it began in 2002. I remember when Google announced the CPC version of AdWords. So it's been around now for a little while. Since then, almost every digital channel has gone from a cost per thousand or impression-based advertising buying to a cost per click model.
The slide up there shows you the different places in Facebook where these.
These are ads in Facebook. Okay. They're in the newsfeed, homepage on the newsfeed on mobile. All of those are. You can actually buy all of those on a cost per click basis. Yeah. You can also buy them on other basis as well.
Every time somebody clicks on that, you pay a fee to Facebook.
Yeah. There's other things apart from Facebook and Google AdWords you can pay per click for as well. You can buy email pay per click.
Really?
Yeah, it's called performance email marketing. You can buy performance display advertising. So that's where you see banner ads on the Sydney Morning Herald, things like that. You can pay on a cost per click basis on those as well.
Yep.
More lately, though, we've seen cost per acquisition, which is called CPA, and cost per lead models that have started to dominate. So that's where you don't pay for the click, but you pay for the conversion on your website.
That is a minefield.
That is a minefield. We won't go into that in too much detail, apart from to say that unless you're a B2C business, i.e. you're selling to consumers, there won't be many publishers out there that will even consider running a cost per acquisition or cost per lead campaign for you. So it's exclusively a business to consumer, pretty much exclusively business to consumer buying model. But if you're in a B2C business and you're not buying CPL inventory, then, hey, give me a call. The other thing that's really interesting that's changed is real-time bidding and programmatic buying. It means it's really hard to do this stuff yourself. So, for example, when we're running campaigns, display campaigns or Facebook campaigns, we are running them using a program and a logarithm that allows us to bid dynamically in real time. And really you have to be doing that to get your cost per click low enough to deliver a low enough cost per lead to get a decent ROI these days. So it's very hard to do that yourself.
Yeah, and I also wonder if how relevant that is for most of the people on this webinar, to be honest, at the moment. Knowing what most of the businesses here are about, I wonder if that. I think the point is if you build a campaign yourself in, say, Facebook, and give it a $10 budget, Facebook are just going to suck up your money, and I don't think you'll get a return on investment. Same thing on Google. If you go and build your own campaign in there and say give it a $15, $20 a day campaign budget, Google's going to pretty much suck that up and probably not get an ROI. And I think what the takeaway from this last bit about pay-per-click advertising is that one sentence that you said before. It's getting really hard to do this yourself, and and I think that's if you take one thing away from this, if you were thinking about doing pay-per-click advertising, don't start out doing this yourself because you will throw a lot of money away.
Unless you really know what you're doing.
Well, yeah, but I mean if you really knew what you're doing, you're probably not on this webinar. Besides Richard. All right. Okay. Somebody asked us about retargeting.
Okay.
So this is another one where we're going to be very careful we don't get.
Okay, I'll try and keep it really simple then.
But I love this.
So
slide.
I'm sure that you've had the experience before where you've gone to a website and you've looked at some product. Have you got an experience of that? Where you've
I've got it all the time at the moment.
What were you looking for?
It was the other day. I don't know if people know Kogan. If you come across
Kogan.
Recently,
because you don't have a TV and you need one.
Kogan is that online retail organisation. You buy anything with the name Kogan on it. And I recently subscribed to their newsletter, and I think I'm going to unsubscribe very soon because you get 3 a day. But so I clicked on something. What was it? Some tool or something like that. Yeah. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. And instantaneously, everything that I looked at in Facebook and and wherever, that same thing popped up every time.
Yeah, it's basically following you around. So let me tell you how it works. It's retargeting. It's also known as remarketing, and it's a form of online advertising that can keep your brand in front of what we call bounced traffic, or people that come to your website and then leave your website without picking up the phone or filling in your form. We use it because it's about getting a higher level of conversion from that initial paid click or from organic traffic that comes to your website.
I just want to stop you for a moment because I'm just worried about that we've got to be quite clear that is this only for Volkswagen or Toyota?
No, it can work for small, medium businesses.
Yeah, would this be relevant for?
Absolutely.
For the kind of people that we're talking to,
sure.
Or for me, is it relevant for me? You reckon?
Sure, it is. Really, to make retargeting work, I used to say, look, unless you're getting more than 5,000 visitors to your website a month, it's not worth it. I've revised that down somewhat with the likes of AdRoll and things. AdRoll specifically, I think if you've got about 1,000 to 2,000 visitors to your website, it's worth having a look at. It works best in conjunction with other inbound marketing, content marketing, AdWords, or display advertising. So where you're spending money already and you want to squeeze every bit of juice out of the cost that you paid for that click, then you should definitely be using it.
Okay. So what I think we should do, because we've just said as well, and that with pay-per-click advertising, you really shouldn't be doing this yourself. And this is probably another example of why you shouldn't be doing this yourself, because it gets even more complicated. So I think what is really important is that people understand
what it is.
Okay,
not
so how you do it.
Let me tell you what it is. So most websites convert, if they're really good, traffic comes to their site at about 3%, i.e. 3 people out of every 100 will pick up the phone, dial that number, or will fill in a response form if you're doing everything right on your website. So
for people, someone finds you on Google, comes to your website, you're saying if that's done really well, 3% is going to...
Yeah, on a good day. Yeah. And some businesses do better than that, some do worse. So retargeting is a tool designed to help companies reach the other 90% of users that don't convert the first time. So every time a user comes to your site, the code that we put on the website drops an anonymous browser cookie onto your browser on your device that you've come to the website on.
Yeah.
Later, when your cookied visitors browse the web, let's say you go from Kogan to the Sydney Morning Herald, that will tell your retargeting provider, let's say it's AdRoll, when to serve ads related to what you were previously looking at. Ensuring that your ads are served only to people who have previously visited your website. So that's how it works.
Right. So Craig just asked, what does it cost? I mean, what sort of cost are we talking about? I mean, I know it's how long's a piece of string at some level, but I mean, is it the same kind of cost that we would budget for pay-per-click advertising? We budget again?
No, typically not, and it depends upon how many visitors you get to your website.
Yeah.
But typically, it would make up 10 or 20% of a budget that we might have. Say we had a $5,000 campaign running across Facebook and Google AdWords, then 10% of that, maybe $500, might go towards retargeting.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. Okay, cool. That's retargeting or remarketing, and it is pretty evil.
So yeah, about 10% is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
It depends on the website, the traffic, etc.
Cool.
If you've got an offering that lasts a long time or a longer sales cycle, you might leave that campaign or that retargeting running for longer, and you need to budget more.
Yeah. If
you've got something where somebody will come to your website because they need it today or tomorrow, then you'll budget less because you only need to retarget them for a couple of days. So there's a few factors involved.
Cool. All right.
But 10% is a good rule of thumb.
So that's retargeting. You've seen something somewhere, and then it keeps following you along. So it keeps reminding you, and therefore, it's effective. Let's get converted by these two boys. Tell us about that whole process of conversion when we're getting people through our lending process we're getting people to...
You want me to keep it simple, don't you?
Yes.
So the basics of the conversion process are really simple. First step is a website page or an online ad call to action. Click here to download this report. Click here to book an appointment.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
The second typical thing that we do is a landing page.
Yeah.
So that's a landing page where that offer is reiterated.
A landing page. Is there anything magic about a landing page, or is it?
Oh yeah.
But no, I don't want to go into that level of detail. What I meant is a landing page anything else but a page in your website?
No.
No.
It's just a page on your website,
right?
With a form on it or a conversion process.
And actually,
usually a form.
And pretty well everybody that's on this webinar today has seen an example of it because you went to a page where you registered.
That's a landing page.
And that's a landing page. So
yeah.
Great. Cool.
The next part is form conversion.
Yeah.
And so what I talk about there is we always measure how many people filled in the form by putting some code on the next page, which is usually the thank you page, which tells us how many people completed the form.
Yeah.
As well as measuring, that form will either come as an email to you or go into a CRM system or go into MailChimp. Yeah. So that's form conversion as the next stage.
Mm-hmm.
The next critical stage is the follow-up, and that's usually automated, although it doesn't have to be.
No. It's often a common. Well, so let's relate it again to the people that have been here, that are here today. You've had an example of both automated responders, and also today I sent a manual email to everybody with the link saying don't forget.
Or it could be that somebody picks up the phone.
Yeah, good.
And the other most common one that's working really well at the moment is SMS autoresponders.
Yeah.
So those are ones that are triggered by your website that send an SMS message.
Yeah.
And the reason for that I'm starting to use SMS autoresponders over email ones is that it's really hard to get people to open emails, whereas everybody opens an SMS.
Yeah.
And reads it and usually clicks through.
And I hate this. I absolutely hate this.
But so that's the simple basics of it. Conversion optimization, which is what I spend a lot of time doing, or conversion rate optimization, is the method of creating an experience for a website or landing page visitor with the goal of increasing the percentage of visitors that convert into customers.
Yeah.
And to do that, typically we A/B test. So we A/B test.
A/B test.
So that's an A/B test. So that's where we come up with proposition A and proposition B, and then we drive traffic to both and see which converts better.
Yeah.
So
you literally have two separate landing pages.
Well, we have two separate campaign creatives often.
Right.
So there might be a campaign creative with a hot, sexy woman, and there might be a campaign creative with a mum with two kids.
Yeah.
And then we'll land both of those on landing pages.
Yeah.
One that's got another picture of the hot, sexy woman, one with another picture of the mum with two kids. Not the mum with two kids aren't sexy, by the way. And then we test the forms as well.
Careful, you don't step into any minefield.
So it's about comparative testing, and there's some really simple tools. This is something you can do yourself, by the way. If you're good enough to have set up your own WordPress website, there's some people here that I think might have done that.
Yeah.
Then go and have a look at optimizely.com or unbounce.com.
And both of those links are also on the resources page, by the way.
And you can set up your own A/B testing for your landing pages.
Cool. Right. Okay. That's my questions for the moment. So I'm pretty sure that a lot of you are your head is spinning. So I'd love to hear some other questions. One question from Craig before: how much should I budget for a state-of-the-art website that performs in making more sales? Can you? I know this is obviously a very difficult question to be specific about, but can you give us some kind of numbers from your experience? And neither of us are web developers here, right? But I mean, Scott does do some web, but it's not his prime.
No, I mean, I build web pages and landing pages all the time, but I've been building websites for 22 years.
Yeah.
I built my first one, had to raw code the HTML before compilers were created. And I still build a few today because customers just need them when I'm creating campaigns for them. Yeah. So in answer to that, you can have a single page website that works as a conversion tool, and you can build that, even getting the best designers and good web people for under $1,000.
Yeah.
State of the art website that performs and making more sales. Again, it depends on your category and what all your competitors look like.
I've seen people. I've seen people do incredibly well with really simple WordPress template blogs, and they literally are a blog, and they have a free offer on there, and they regularly update the blog, and it's amazing how well it can work.
What's interesting, I suppose, what I can tell you, Craig, is that websites that I used to build that we charged $100,000 for 5 or 10 years ago would top out at 10 grand today.
Yeah, and
websites that we that we used to charge 5 or 10 years ago 50 grand for would top out at 5 grand today.
Yeah.
So
cool. All right, we've got a question from John in Sydney. John's saying this is so much stuff. My head's is going is
my head around.
Got anything
Do
to read.
You have some of this stuff on paper for me to read over again?
Yep. Well, that's a very quick answer to that, because we've actually got a couple of great resources on the resource page, that tiny.cc marketing L page, and one of them is an article by Scott, another an article by me. And there's a great ebook with 1,001 ways to do digital marketing. There's lots of stuff there, actually.
There's one from Mark in Brisbane. Do you really want me to get into that? What's the difference between all those other models, pay-per-click, pay-per-view, pay-per-lead, and how do you choose which to go with?
I wonder if we should let that one go for the moment.
That's a great question. And indeed, it really is confusing. And that's the problem here. But the bottom line is this: it's become really difficult to do this stuff unless you're an expert. So as soon as you get past the really basic stuff, you need really an agency to run pay-per-click, pay-per-view, pay-per-lead campaigns. In short.
Yeah. Question from Claire in Sydney on blogging. I've been told that my blogs are too long, and on the other hand, I've had really positive feedback on my blogs. What's the rule of thumb reblogging? And it's actually interesting, because I've had some interesting feedback on that of late as well. It's actually Google is looking at longer these days. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's been some really good done in this. If you type in, I can't remember what I typed in a while ago, what's the perfect length for a blog, or what's the perfect length? There have been people that have done some research on this. It came up with a number that was, and the general agreement is that it's somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 words is a general agreement on the length.
Much longer than I thought it was.
Length of a blog, and that surprised me, because I thought that's a lot.
That's quite a lot.
If you're going to write a 1,500 word blog, then you would really want to break that up with headings, short paragraphs, pictures, images, infographics. But the research has said that the best engagement comes from blogs of the 1,000 to 1,500 word length.
Yeah, and what's more, the best engagement comes from that, but it's also Google rates it better.
Also, Google rates it better
because Google, I think, and it makes sense as well, because Google is, everybody's been playing this game for a long time now, and Google wants to get rid of all this, stuff that's been just pumped out and is meaningless, and it's looking at articles that are 1,500 words.
It used to be clear that a 500 word blog that had all your keywords stuffed into the headings, into the URL the blog page was on, and with a keyword density of 3 or 4 keywords per 100 words for the first 300 words would get that ranking on Google. Now that type of tactic is being marked down.
Yeah. Clearly,
yeah.
Cool.
Totally. Yes.
Yeah. So Craig is saying surely that depends on how passionate the audience is about the topic. Of course. Yeah. I mean, if you
and how good the writing is and how engaging the content is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? There's a few there, but
perhaps something that can be read at an average speed of under three words.
Under 3 minutes with further links given. Yeah, Richard. Interestingly, they did some. The length of the blog was based upon reading speed, and it came out a little bit longer than 3 minutes. But I haven't got the research in front of me. I'd have to go and look it up. Just Google.
1,000 to 1,500 words is a lot more than 3 minutes.
Yeah, and I think it's more around the 6 or 7 minute mark, depending on your reading speed.
Yeah.
So go and have a look at the research. It's available online. There's lots of people that have done.
But the bottom line is that it's actually much more than you think these days. It's really changed.
Yeah.
So I'm reasonably sure that we've sketched the minefield for you by now. Your heads are probably exploding. And we're obviously not doing it on purpose. Although I suppose to some extent we do believe that what we just spoke about in an answer earlier, that it's just some of this stuff is just too hard to do yourself. But I do ask you to remember that what we said in the first half of the webinar, it's all still about those 5 principles. It's still about those 5 pillars. Personal, it's about value, it's about trust, it's about being seen, and it's about what's in it for me. And if you keep remembering that, you'll go a long way. I mean, it's a great example of what I mean about the old ways being just as valid in the modern digital world as well, right? A friend of mine and former client, David, is an electrician, and a few of you know him here as well. He hasn't had a formal digital marketing plan and strategies implemented, but just recently he got a new job completely through social media. I saw it happen. It was perfect. Someone I'm connected with on Facebook asked in his status update if anyone knew a great electrician. I saw it and responded and told my connection to go and talk to David. And I tagged David at the same time. And within half an hour, 5 other people had done exactly the same thing. The client was overwhelmed and simply hired David on the spot. And that's how it can work. It can work because David got everything right. He does great work and he looks after his clients. His clients love him and become his advocates and look for opportunities to refer him. And David does regular fun and interesting posts on various social media about stuff that interests him. Well, not everything that interests him, but it's a different matter. And it might be useful for his client. He doesn't sell anything. He's just there to be a good guy. And because of that, he ticks all the pillars and he uses the social media in the best possible way. And that's how basic it can be. And I've seen this phenomenon many times in the past few years, and it's happened for me as well. I just, not that long ago, got a client in exactly the same way. Do you have any stories to illustrate this whole, how we should think about marketing in 2015?
Yeah, I've got a great example just the other day, and it might help to take away some of the fear people have around this as well, especially for those of you worried about how you do all of this. She's got a really strong following of 18 to 24-year-old woman on Facebook and Instagram for her wellness business. And she does what David does, but she does a little bit of selling of on those channels as well, but no real web presence to speak of. No. It's all Facebook, Instagram. Facebook. Oh, yeah. She does have a little website, but it's just, it doesn't do anything. She doesn't SEO it. She doesn't blog on it.
Right.
She wanted to launch a retreat program, which fits in with her business as another part of her business.
Yeah.
And this is a residential retreat, with a big price ticket on. I think it's $3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah.
And she was worried that because she had no proper website, she had no blog, and she did not follow many of the principles that I suggest need to be followed, that no one would make any bookings just from a trust perspective. But for her, it didn't matter. We created an event on Facebook. We got an Eventbrite account set up, did some promotions on Facebook and on Instagram for her first retreat. And she has such a strong and loyal following of raving fans from her wellness business that the first retreat sold out in days.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
So, you don't have to do all of this. You just have to do 1 or 2 things really well.
Yeah, cool. Cool. We need to move on. So I'd love for you guys to focus on and share with us, if you want to, what popped up in your head during the stories and throughout the webinar. I'm going to quickly go through and remind you all of the stuff that we think that you might want to remember and take away. But you write down your own takeaways, your insights, your questions, or things you don't agree with on your worksheet. And so while you guys are doing that and possibly typing it into us here as well, these are the big insights as far as I see them. There's the 5 pillars. The stuff that hasn't changed, it's personal. It's about value, and price is just one kind of value. It's about trust. It's about being visible. visible, where your clients are visible, and it's about what's in it for me. And the 5 top things that have changed are about targeting, about being able to target so narrowly you can literally through digital media, literally target single people if you get very clever, and that's what we've got Scott for. This in such an overwhelmingly wide range of channels, the ability to do things automatically, it's becoming incredibly powerful. And how to measure stuff at a level of granularity that is unheard of, and it's getting more. And then this thing about velocity, the speed of change, and
the direction of change.
The direction of change, yeah. And some of the stuff from the conversation with Scott. If your website's not set up to lead to action, and please do. There are notes areas on your worksheet for all of this stuff to write them down again. But if your website is not set up to lead to action, you're wasting your time. Websites have to lead to action, getting your clients to do stuff. Your website simply has to be mobile responsive, especially since that last Google update. Inbound marketing is what we're aiming for, attracting people to your optimized and focused website by activities in the wider world, leading them to your website. And optimizing for SEO is all about focusing on your users first, and Google will follow. And Google is still the one to focus on. And we must remember that Google is getting more and more interested in being local. We can speak about that in great detail, but because we're out of time. But Google is more and more interested in local, and pay-per-click and retargeting and all that stuff is incredibly powerful. But you can't just go off and do it yourself, because you'll waste way too much money. We're not meant to be there yet, so we're still here. Any other questions? Simone, it's actually really useful to be told that pay-per-click advertising is too hard to do myself. I've sort of felt I ought to get into it, but it just feels overwhelming. Now I can give myself permission not to get into it until I can afford it.
I was just sitting with somebody today who had been running their own Google AdWords campaign, and 18 months ago they turned it all off. They focused just on the 5 pillars,
yep.
And some of the things I talked about, regularly updating their site with good content, and what they saw was an improvement in the number of leads coming through the business and better conversions. So unless you're going to do it properly, Simone, I think that's a good choice. Yeah,
no, it's good. And John again, he loves the story of the electrician, and he's seen it happening as well. But he said, I really never actually thought about it as actual marketing, more as luck or whatever. And it's a great insight, because he knows it's important to have lots of connections on Facebook as well. Yeah, look at this.
Yeah, but don't go and buy them.
No.
They need to be real people connected to real people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it is all about visible. If you want to talk to your customers, you have to be visible where they are. There's no point talking to them in bars if they're not in bars, right? Let's get to. It's in the wrong place. That's meant to be that slide, and then back to yours. Oh. So remember that overwhelm that we said before. I mean, some of you probably feel a bit of that now. So Scott and I have both created a special offer for you to help you forward. This is Scott's offer.
So for anybody that would like to have a one-on-one digital marketing strategy session, what that will include is a 1-hour session with me. If you're in Sydney, we'll try and do it face-to-face, but we can do it using technology too.
Yeah.
We'll do a website review, and we'll be looking at conversion points, conversion optimization specifically, and how the website's laid out for actions. A bit of a social media review, and we'll also do an SEO review with a backlink analysis and get all of that back to you in a second meeting. So you can go right now if you want to motivemarketing.youcanbookme.com
YouCanBook.me, isn't it?
You can book me. Oh yeah. If you look up, you can book me. I think the wrong link's been put in there.
Oh really? Is that the wrong link?
But you'll find it, I think.
I'm pretty sure. No, it is. It's YouCanBook.me. No, it's the link there is right, and it's also in your webinar worksheet. And I'll if it's not already on the resources page, I'll make sure that I'll put it in there again. But motivemarketing.youcanbook.me.
So that's no obligation. I'm here to help anybody that's bothered to take some time out on a Thursday night and come to this webinar. So take advantage of it.
Yeah, I really suggest you take it up. You will get an awful lot of really specific about your website. Like Craig, you said, you've asked those questions and they are difficult to answer without really knowing a lot more about your circumstances. And so in that session, Scott will really be able to help you forward with that. I would suggest you take it. Remember, I asked you to look at your most pressing issue and what is your biggest challenge in your business right now. Have another look at it. I trust it's greater than this woman had to deal with, as we said. And I want to give you an opportunity to find some really simple, effective step forwards in relation to that challenge. And so my special offer is that that you'll get a business health check report. It's a 7-page business health check report. You'll go online and do this business health check survey, and then you'll get a report from that. You'll get a hard copy of one of my books, the new one, if you haven't got it yet, or one of the older ones. You get to do a 1 hour, 1.5 hours sit down, face-to-face, or via video link, Skype, one-on-one coaching session around that most pressing issue and finding clarity and focus about it and how to move forward. And you will walk away with a bunch of really cool actions. Losing sound. Someone's losing sound. We're nearly there. And the only thing you have to do to take up my offer is to make a $100 donation at the Wayside Chapel. And the link is in your worksheet, and I'll send it out to you as well. So let's get to action. Nothing's going to change unless you take action. So there's a special resources page that goes with the webinar show. And this is what we want you to do. Set some time aside. First, set some time aside for your next steps. If you don't, set some time aside to do something with what you've learned and the information that we've given you today in the next few days. Then coming on this webinar has been a waste of time. The only thing that ultimately makes any difference whatsoever is the actions you take. So on your worksheet is a scale from 0 to 10. And you can see it on the screen. We're going to call this your Master of Modern Marketing scale. And on the scale, and 10 on the scale is that you're a digital marketing wizard guru, a lead generation god, and 0 is the opposite. Place a mark on your scale and tell us where you are now. Then let's brainstorm 25 small actions that you can take, that you could take to move yourself up that scale. And I've given you a bunch, or we've given you a bunch of them on your worksheet already. Oh, no, they're not on the slides, of course. On your worksheet is a bunch of them, a bunch of sample actions that you can take. It's about finding out if your mobile website is your website is mobile responsive. It's about writing up the 10 keywords that you want to be found for. Go and brainstorm 25 actions, and use the ones that we've suggested already, or find your own. Silly actions, big actions, little actions, but make sure they're actions. Specific items you can block a half hour in your diary for. That's the trick, yes?
And if you're short of ideas, read the local area marketing article by me, because there's about at least 25 little actions you can take just in that one article alone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's on the resources page, as well as my article, as well as an actual ebook about it's called 1001 Ways to Do Digital Marketing. So you're not going to have a hard time finding 25 really simple, specific actions. Then go and block out some time for these actions. Actually block out some time. If the actions you take don't end up in your diary, they're not going to be taken, and coming here has been a waste of your time. So what are you going to do next week? Lock it in. Do it next week. Not all 25, just one. One action next week. And don't forget, take us up on our offers. Make the donation to the Wayside Chapel for mine, for $100 or more if you'd like to. Book yourself into a session with Scott. Both of those offers are really powerful. You get a lot out of it. Any last questions before we finish? Any last questions? Rich is saying, help each other. If we want to help each other out, happy to join on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Yeah. I'm going to send out an email to all of you. How can we best do this? Maybe you've got a clever, quick suggestion. The best thing to do is to connect with each other on LinkedIn.
Connect with us. We're easy to find on all of
yeah,
those.
you're going to get an email from us. And yeah, cool.
And then you'll be able to connect with everybody that's been on the webinar.
Yeah, that's right. Any last questions? Then we're going to stop the recording now, and